This is HIMYM Superfans. Hello, James Hamilton.
Hey there, Chris.
And hello, MortyFan Dan.
Oh, geez, you guys, I don't even know what I'm doing here.
All right, well, Morty's here.
Oh, God, that is terrible.
Hey,
God. Mine's not getting any better.
No, hey guys, it's nice to be here.
All right, thanks.
Morty, you're gonna have to do better than that, Morty. Marty.
I don't know.
If I yell at you a bit more, would you do better?
No, I don't know. Geez, Rick, you're always giving me a hard time. I'm trying real hard over here.
Well, try harder, Morty.
It doesn't seem like either of you guys know what you're doing either.
Morty, that your kind of back talk is not appreciated.
All right, okay, I'll just be quiet for most of the rest of the episode.
No,
then.
don't do that.
Okay.
So, today, instead of How I Met Your Mother, we wanted to take a little break, and we're going to do an episode of Rick and Morty.
Coincidentally picked a episode that you, for some reason, decided to buy, and I picked it because it was one of my favorites. And what a coincidence that it was of the few that you had seen before. It was this one. Is there a story behind that?
Well, I haven't seen very many episodes. I've seen some. But yeah, this is an episode where MortyFan Dan really wanted me to watch it so much so that he bought the episode on my Xbox and then pinned a $5 bill up to the bulletin board to cover the cost for the episode. The $5 bill is still hanging there.
It's still up there.
I haven't decided to go get a vanilla shake at Arby's yet.
Right.
Oh, that might happen tonight.
I know, I might have to.
How long has that been up there?
A few weeks.
Oh, I thought it was months.
I would
Maybe
say over
years?
a month at least.
Oh, okay.
Not years.
No, okay. No, because it couldn't possibly be before.
Yes,
date
it
of
was
this
before the episode came out.
Which was originally aired August 2nd, 2015. Chris, who wrote this one?
I think it was Dominic Polcino. My guess on how you pronounce that.
All right. You would know better than I would.
Yep, I am ethnic.
Yes. From your deep, deep heritage.
I'm not even sure that's the same language, but we'll run with that. David Phillips, that's a name that I think is much easier to pronounce.
Yeah.
He directed it. Dan, I wanted to find out, what did you really like about this episode? Why was it so important that you bought this one on my Xbox?
Well, I would say I've enjoyed the entire Rick and Morty series, and sometimes it's disjointed, it's all over the place, and the story arcs don't necessarily really matter. But this one was far enough along in where I think it was tapping into a lot of what the characters represent, a lot of the conflicts, and it's a really funny episode. I think most of them are. The idea of isolating one episode that kind of taps into what the show is about to bring someone else on board, I think this episode does a good job of doing it. It's kind of all over the place. A lot of the themes are still very intact between Rick and Morty and what their adventures stand for. And so it was like to pitch, if you've never seen the episode before, if you don't have a lot of time, just start from the beginning. Try to hook someone on something that I think represents a lot of what the show is about.
I like this episode a lot because it shows a lot of the emotional connection between Rick and Morty, and there's a lot of this nasty shit comes out of Rick's mouth all the time at Morty. This verbal abuse that is played for laughs is only funny because of the performance, because of the animation, because of the wackiness of the character. You know, Rick has a gray face.
And he's constantly drooling on himself, and looks like he has barf on his lower lip at all times.
And in this entire episode, they're surrounded by different kinds of monsters. First, it's like these squishy, sort of gelatinous creatures, and then it's the gear people.
The gear people.
This reminds me a lot of the other episode where Rick lets Morty pick the adventure.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That is the snail one.
That is one I have seen. Jelly Bean.
And the sexual assault.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's way darker than this one, which is also why I don't recommend that one first.
Very gross.
there are a lot of similar themes going on.
I love that one because Rick ends up having a great time, like with the shekels or the schmeckles at the bar. Like he ends up
Schmeckles, I think, are a
enjoying
term of currency. I don't know. They're they probably interchange those things.
The adventure. He ends up loving it, and Morty just wants to go home because he was molested in the bathroom by a jelly bean.
Yeah, that's awful.
I feel like
horrifying,
and I could be wrong, but like you really wanted me to watch this episode, Dan. You wanted me to watch this episode, Mortynight Run. I'm pretty sure the first episode I had you watch was the jelly bean one.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you've got to see this. This is like the weirdest thing, and I think you're gonna like it.
Yeah, no.
You gotta see this jelly bean molest this boy.
I like it.
That's not entirely the reason, but no, like it's just come up and like Rick like totally understands exactly what's happening, pops back through the portal, and melts him in front of all of his people.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything more fitting than that.
Yeah, that one sets the tone of the kind of caring that Rick is.
Yeah, he does. He cares, and he didn't want to see that happen to Morty, and he disintegrates the guy into goo.
Yeah.
Would either one of you guys say that Mortynight Run does a more intelligent version of the fart and genital jokes?
I would say absolutely. I think the entire episode leads up to a fantastic fart joke. And it's the best executed fart joke I've ever heard because the whole episode built to it.
Mm-hmm.
The way they pull off the animation in this episode is beautiful, especially in the music video we'll get to. But
yes.
But the moment at the end of the episode with the ultimate fart joke, I think we were thinking of just the look on Morty's face. It's just terror and knowing his path and knowing that Rick doesn't know or that he doesn't care.
Yeah, he may know, but it's not really explained whether or not Rick knows.
It's definitely the most thrilling I've ever felt. It's the most thrilling fart joke.
Okay, because you're scared that another. Well, and that's the thing. Like I was talking about, like the genital joke. Like you're worried like another vagina's going to open up, and and that a whole bunch of the farts are going to just pour through.
The jazz little pussy farts are going to destroy the world.
So, well, the other one that happened here was like the gear people with the exchanging of the nuts and bolts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so like that,
Well, those are pretty straightforward. I think very well executed because they're playing off of like it's imagery. It reminds me of stuff that Futurama did very well. It's like, we've got a whole different species here. Do you want to learn about the species? The answer is no. You want to hear a joke about the species? The answer is yes. And if you can play it well, then the audience is going to be on board.
I definitely get a Futurama vibe in the gear people section.
Yeah. Like the vomiting up oil and gears is a very Bender thing. Like him like crapping a brick or like vomiting oil.
That he has to drink to stay sober is another kind of like this sort of backwards world when we view, I don't know, anything in space or different cultures or something like that. I think it tapped into that a little bit for me.
It's definitely got, at least with the gear people's got that kind of vibe. There's a lot of people killed in this episode. Something that we talked about. So
it's mostly gear people, but they've already had a really rough time. If you watch the other episodes, the Gear Wars, apparently, and that's all they really want to talk about.
We're tired of hearing about the Gear Wars.
Yeah, enough of the fucking Gear Wars already, Dan. Jesus.
The Bird Person was in the episode when they were talking about the Gear Wars. I do want to talk about Bird Person for just a minute. Like, didn't he also have some sort of conflict though that would like really took it out of him and Rick?
Well, they're not very clear on what any of that is, and I think on purpose. They're not revealing.
They're going to save that for later or never bring it up.
Bird Person and Rick have been through. It's meaningful, and he talks about it in that monotone, important kind of way. Don't be gross, Tammy.
Yes.
I kind of got an impression like they're veterans of like a guerrilla war or something.
They've been through some sort of conflict together.
Yeah.
And do you think that was possibly during the Gear Wars, or do you think they're unrelated?
I'm sure that there was some connection to the Gear Wars.
Maybe they were simply they were war profiteers. Rick's all sorts of a shady, nasty man.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they simply they were in the Gear Wars, but for profit.
Yeah, I think Rick would do that.
Yeah.
Well, he winds up with a gear person at the party that he
Mhm.
invites everyone to, and then that's the guy who's just going to talk about the Gear Wars the entire. And he shoves his grandson like
Yeah.
Have you heard about the Gear Wars? I don't want to talk to them, but maybe it's an educational moment.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
wants Morty to learn about the Gear Wars.
He's
Everyone
always-
should. It's a
Yep, Rick's always trying to get Morty to learn some sort of lesson.
combination of learning through submersion, I guess, or immersion, or what do they call it? What? Like you learn a language by
Yeah,
just
immersion.
going immersion.
Yeah, I think so.
Submersion.
Submersion
like
is actually when you
that's
go
drowning.
underwater. Yeah, that's
when you-
yeah, that's
that's
no,
just
it's
when
drowning.
you drown.
No, it's erection.
Learning by erection.
You erect
There's
yourself
probably
into a
some-
language or culture.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you can learn a lot. So let's go ahead and watch the episode Mortynight Run.
All right.
Not at all based off of Midnight Run.
What is this show? I've never seen it before.
Hey folks, thanks for subscribing to the podcast.
Thanks for listening. Don't worry, we'll get back to the episode in just a bit. I just wanted to ask you to please share this episode on your device or your Facebook page.
And we'll be back next week with our regular How I Met Your Mother episode.
Thanks so much.
Why, I assumed that you have exhausted the entire Roy storyline.
Well, yeah.
Like any time you played Roy, or you play it like 2 or 3 times, and you've had enough of Roy. So yeah, you need a Dave.
Is Dave like a child of Roy that you get to play as, or just a totally different person?
I can go either way. I don't think it really.
It's
really matters
Roy
too
is
much.
the franchise, but now it's like
Well, it
Right.
depends on if the creators of Roy sold it to EA or not.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Roy to
Well, there's going to be some things that are way better. There's going to be some things that are way better. Their interface is going to make much more sense.
Yeah.
It's going to simplify a few things. But yeah, you get all the soul-destroying parts of EA as well.
Let's set up all these things in a Roy that will play off in our next 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to, oh my god, we got funding from this major publisher. This is going to be our dream come true. Cut to
You keep
6
telling
months
us what
later.
to do.
Son of a bitch!
Infringing on my creative ideas.
Never follow your dreams.
Hear that, kids?
Oh.
Never follow your dreams.
and never go back to the carpet store.
Yeah.
Never
That's-
go fucking back to the carpets. Fuck no! I wouldn't. Dan,
No.
MortyFan Dan, would you go back to
I
the
would
carpet
not.
store?
No, I would not.
I probably would have the first time because I thought that was the only choice, and then only later would I realize that I had another option, I'd play it again. Like, I think you absolutely, well, I would absolutely go back to the carpet store the first time. Well, like, what's Rick having to do? Like, strip naked and go running through the forest? Like, how am I going to realize that that's an option?
Yeah, he's played it a lot of times.
Right.
Yeah. So, what was the best moment of this episode?
I think the best part is actually when Morty kills Fart, because it's really important that he does. Like, he's been opposed to that the entire time, having watched, like, the horrible things. He saw all the gear people die, I'm sure he did, but he wanted to stick with it. Like, it was really important. And he gets Fart home to his people, but when he realizes that Fart and his people were going to destroy everything that he knew, he took matters into his own hands and did it. He didn't go back to Rick and be like, I need you to take care of Fart because he's going to do something. Morty's tough and he can actually do things. He just realized that it was wrong the entire time and took care of it himself.
Yeah, great point. It's credit to Morty. He learned his lesson, and I think that is the payout. The setup was Rick has to teach Morty about the universe that is available to him. You know, here's all these crazy interdimensional things you can do. Here's an arcade. Even this is like teaching you some bizarre shit that could, happen to you. Is if this video game could convince you that you lived this whole other life, be aware of maybe this might be weaponized against you because of what your grandpa is. And
Well, the world that actually exists around Morty that he didn't know was possibly there. But like we're talking about going back to the carpet store, Like that's kind of what Morty wants, is like a simple life. And it's like it's not that way. Like it's not cut and dry, it's not black and white. Like you shouldn't give guns to assassins and all farts are good. It's like that's not necessarily the actual world that he lives in, and he has to figure that out. I mean, it's a little sad, but I think it's important that Morty, is the one that pulls the trigger there. And it's sad, actually. I feel bad for Fart for not realizing the value in other beings and still wanting to go through with the cleansing, even after having met, two humans that one really wanted to help him and wanted to love him, and the other didn't, but was at least still helpful and kept out of the way. And he wasn't able to see the error of his ways. And it's actually the folly of Fart that ends up being the reason that he's killed.
That's brilliant.
So, Dan, did you figure out a favorite thing in the episode?
Well, it's based on a lot of what you just said, of what Morty's, what his timeline and his story arc within this episode, just how much that mirrors what Jerry is going through, and that Morty doesn't do what Jerry does. Morty is actually rising above his father in that he makes his own decisions, he's challenging whatever situation he's put in. He's like, no, I'm not going to stand for this. And Jerry is like trying, but he always, regresses back a little bit.
It was quicker.
Jerry can't escape who he is. But somewhere in there, Morty he's learning something. He's not going to become a Jerry.
There's still hope for him.
Yeah, I think.
I think Jerry is put in an impossible situation unfairly. And
in this episode or in all episodes?
Well, probably in all episodes. But
so, there are some things that are totally Jerry's fault. I think this one is definitely not his.
He has no hope of getting through the transit hub.
Yeah, he has no training whatsoever in this interdimensional lifestyle that Morty is getting.
No one's actually helping him out. No one's saying, like, hey, well, we'll go out next weekend and we'll try to teach Jerry some things about
Jerry's useless. Yeah. He can't learn these things. He possibly could if people invested in him.
And I guess in that sense, maybe I'm being too rough on Jerry, because this Jerry that we're following does try to go outside. He eventually gets to that point where he's like, you know what, I won't stand for this anymore. I'm going to crawl through the tube. I'm going to go somewhere I was always allowed to go, but they always come back. He did come back. He tried. He was terrified. He didn't know what to do, but he had no information.
He knew it was safe. He knew the others would probably come looking for him.
Yeah.
He couldn't have gotten the pink receptionist lady that's very nice to him and encourages him, and tells him he's doing a good job in the tube. He couldn't have gotten her to come with him to the transit terminal and translate for him.
No,
just a little bit of help.
Probably part of the service contract.
Well, and see, then that's them keeping Jerry down. He's possibly capable of doing better. Well, but then stacking the odds against him. No matter what, don't help him get back to Earth. Oh my gosh, if we come back to the daycare and he actually makes it to Earth, he'll realize that he can do stuff.
Yeah. We'd have to watch more episodes and discuss this further, but there are a lot of people keeping Jerry down. Well, not the least of which is Beth.
Oh, I'm sure it's mutually dysfunctional.
Oh, it is.
We know from another episode that Jerry's gullible enough to fall for the minimum optimization simulation scam.
Yeah, hungry for apples. He wins an award for
my man. Yes.
talking about?
The guy.
Goodbye Moon Man as the musical track. James is implying that it's influenced by David Bowie's sound.
Psychedelic era.
Okay. I thought the video itself was influenced by like Grateful Dead or Pink Floyd or something, but I don't really know enough about those two and their videos to know. But that's just
video wise. But I think you're spot on. It's like, well, let's tap into something that's like ground control to Major Tom.
Okay, yes,
We'll do a. No, he's basically lost in space forever, and we'll just do something
Rockadelic.
Yeah,
Rockadelic.
and it's kind of like mystical and awesome, but also kind of hopeless.
Yeah, like a
in that
terrifying
kind of way.
hopelessness
Yeah.
in all of it.
So you just kind of like trick people with the mysticism.
I feel bad for that gear
Far
guy.
above
Like,
the
did his
world.
like gear woman actually gear cheat on him with his gear friend?
Oh, yeah.
Or did
Gear, yeah.
okay? Or did like
Until
Fart
Gear,
just
no!
put that in his mind and that
No, I
none of
think-
that ever happened?
I think Fart planned that. If you're talking about the cops when he's going in, having everyone just commit suicide,
Yes.
I think that's all just made up by Fart Man.
That's awful.
Yeah, no, it's
It
terrible.
makes Fart even like worse.
Well, that's murder. I mean, more
He was gonna
murder?
do that. He was gonna do
More
that into
murder?
it. Yeah, like he actually did
Double
that.
murder?
The genocide he never got to.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't kill anyone.
Oh yeah, I guess he
he
didn't. Yeah, that's.
messed with their minds,
that's
so
exactly
they killed
the same
themselves.
thing that Morty was talking about. Like, if you sell a gun to an assassin, it's like you're pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
If you convince someone with telepathy to commit suicide, that's like killing them, right? It's the exact same logic.
Yeah.
Or it's
Okay.
the same as doing nothing.
You said hopeless, but I was thinking of the scale, the vastness, the endlessness, and our microscopic portion of it is also the feeling of some of those David Bowie songs.
Oh, yeah.
And that's also the theme of this episode as well, is you object to selling the weapon to Grumbopulous Michael because he's going to kill one person, or for all we know, this being that could end all of us, that's actually being enslaved. So you could even argue you're giving it a mercy killing, a mercy assassination.
Well, it is, but the idea of that you kind of need, if you are the one making the decision, you kind of need to know all the facts behind it.
Well, right, yeah. Before you just start crashing
Like,
cars into people,
yeah,
and
sorry.
pulling levers, grabbing people's nuts and putting them where their gears were.
Right. And that's why it comes back around. Is that if Morty hadn't been so uppity and he just would enjoy a day with his grandpa.
We spent all day at Blitz and Shits.
Yeah,
bro.
How many Mortys? How many lives was your Morty responsible for killing today? Is the question that he asks.
Just one.
Just
Roy.
well,
I
Yeah,
know, but he
we
says
can
none.
say, yeah,
At the
none.
end. Spent the whole day there.
they're not.
Roy died a
not
couple
thinking
times.
about
but
it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just make a new Roy.
And in that universe, Populous Michael is alive and well, and possibly, in theory, only kills the people that need the killing.
Yeah.
That's why he enjoys it so much.
Did I mention that?
Oh boy!
No, boy, here I go.
Yeah, if we didn't mention that enough, Grumbopulous Michael is one of the favorite characters from this
Yeah.
episode. Unfortunately, not seen again, but possibly may return. And he's
Right.
an insect thing. It's only okay because they're insect people.
He's
And-
also insect-like, yeah.
And if they were humanoid, it would be more disturbing, and if it was live action, it would be gross.
Like, Cobie Michael getting creamed by Morty in the car has more goo than anything that Cobie Michael did by, like, snapping those gross fly people's necks.
Yeah. No, and they seem like kind of his own species, or at least some sort of
Related offshoot or something.
Right.
But that could be argued was an accident.
Yeah, but he's a terrible driver because he's learning it. That's like how the episode starts. Like, he's learning how to drive. He doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Morty, that's the last time I let you behind the wheel.
Oh, jeez, man. I don't know.
I
thought maybe.
Oh, my
This
my
time-
client's dead. Morty, you ran him over.
well,
That's why you don't have your license
maybe
yet.
if you just sat down and taught me how to drive better next time.
Didn't have to take your dad to the daycare. Maybe we would have had more time.
All right. Well, I think I'm okay with how things turned out.
They're a life lesson.
I thought the lesson was that it was okay to sell the weapon to Cobie Michael because nothing matters. Because you're so small and infinite and your decisions, the universe is so big and...
So you've embraced the nihilism.
I guess.
I would like to think that everything matters on a case-by-case basis, and that in this instance, Morty was wrong up until the very end when he had to right his own wrong. But in many other situations, he would have been correct. It's this one that he was not.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. Well, I
It's
don't
all
know.
good.
So you have
I think we're also watching the universe where Rick was right. There's also tons where he could have been wrong. Like, Morty, it turns out that, Cobie Michael was going to murder your whole family. I didn't realize that. Sorry about that, Morty. Good call on running him over with a car. I didn't realize that, so I guess you win this time. And that's not the episode that we watched.
Yeah, it doesn't come back around in that way in this episode. They're, just like you said before...
Well, maybe Rick has the world's supply of ammunition for that weapon.
Right, so Cobie Michael has to come back for the next clip.
Right, yeah. 5,000 schmeckles or whatever, and it's 5 bullets.
I don't know. Maybe it's all a teaching tool, and Rick always knows what's going on with Morty. But it does get really, really dark if Mr. Jellybean is something that Rick knows about.
Ooh, oh, you're right, yeah. Yeah, that's messed up.
And he just lets it happen because that's a lesson that needs to be learned.
Yikes.
This one I'm okay with. This is a lesson that Morty can and should learn. Mr. Jellybean, that's for another day. It's spoiler for another episode that we haven't really discussed, and yes, it's literally what happened.
I kind of always assumed he got away, that he never actually got serious.
Sure, that's fine.
Because he was able to defeat Jellybean by smashing his head in the toilet or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
it was still terrifying.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Attacked by another
right,
grown man.
It didn't escalate that much with fart.
We hope you enjoyed this special edition of our podcast. We're going to do a few more here and there, and if you have something in particular you would like us to cover, let us know on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/groups/HIMYM Superfans.
Yeah, let us know if you like this episode. If you want us to just get back to How I Met Your Mother, let us know that too. Next week, we're going to be back with, Aldrin Justice. That is actually guest starring Cobie Michael, who's back for his own justice. It's actually less nice than Lily's. Lily just wants to steal baseball.
I just love baseballs.
Cobie Michael is going to take out Walter White.
That's rough.
Yep, gonna snap his neck.
Goodness, that is worse when it's not a fly person. It really is.
Yeah.
Think about Cobie Michael doing that to a human.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
I'm Mr. Meeseeks! Thanks for listening! I'm gonna disappear now!
Goodbye, everybody.